We have 9 o'clock. I'll call the meeting to order. Was the meeting properly noticed?
Yes, it was.
Clerk, please take roll.
All members are present.
Okay, we have the agenda before us. If there's no changes, okay. Motion approved by Supervisor Edwards, second by Supervisor Kuparski. Discussion or questions on the agenda? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed signify by saying nay. Agenda is approved. We'll move forward. We had the minutes from January 7th. Look for a motion to approve by Supervisor Pease, second by Supervisor Paylor. Discussion or questions on the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed signify by saying nay. Minutes are approved. So we have public participation. We do have a couple people signed up for public participation. I'll let them speak now. Patty Youngblood, if you want to come up and speak at the mic, please.
Good morning.
The little button there, and that gray one, right there. You go.
I'm Patty Youngblood, 1614 10th Avenue, Friendship, Wisconsin. Just a couple of concerns this morning on this position. As a taxpayer and been watching what's going on, I would like to have input on the discussion on 7-8 at the time it's being discussed. How do we know what's going to discuss until it's brought up? In my opinion, I feel having public participation before an item is discussed is ridiculous. What is the resolution to approve the staffing when it's already in the budget? Are you being fair to the person that the taxpayers have voted on, or are you discriminating against her? I feel some of you supervisors have been tainted by false information. As I'm looking at this handout, it seems to me that back in 2019, a deputy treasurer was moved to 40 hours a week. If that's the case then, why do we not have a deputy treasurer now? In my opinion, eliminating this position is a major setback for our county. Thank you.
Barbara Barnes.
Good morning. My name is Barbara Barnes, 408 Fawn Court, Oxford. I have communicated to you by letter in the past, a letter which I hoped that would have been read out at the meeting, but was not. But since my letter was not read in the minutes, I am now here to reiterate my statement, albeit in person. I am here to discuss the actions that have been taken against our newly elected treasurer. I'm here to remind you that the treasurer was elected by the majority of the Adams County and really should be given the respect that the elected position entails. The treasurer should be able to assess the office needs before deciding to reduce staffing. The treasurer should be able to appoint a deputy, and the staffing should not be cut before they can fully assess their office needs. The treasurer should be given an office space with a private office so those of us who have concerns can talk in private and not have to discuss it in public. I'm asking respectfully to listen to the community and provide the treasurer with what she needs to do her job, taking into account her assessment and stated needs. I'm providing a list of some signatures of people I've met in the community who support my statement And I'm asking you to support this treasurer's office by asking her what she needs and providing the support you would give any other elected official. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll move on then. First item is the resolution to approve staffing allocation in Treasurer's Office Department. And it's on as a resolution that we could take to county board if necessary. Normally this committee has seen and overseen other staffing needs, like in the Register of Deeds office, and we were able to come to consensus, but it seems like we might not be able to come to consensus at this committee level. And if that's not the case, I think we should forward the resolution to the county board for the full county board's decision. So, Treasurer, if you want to speak first.
Good morning. Today, I am enrolled now for 31 days. On my very first day in the office, I found on my desk a study that was started for the RPL position, which is the property lister position. It is unfinished. It lasted from 7:29 a.m. until 10:20 a.m. I am unsure of why this was left on the desk in the treasurer's office. Potentially an employee wanted me to see the level of work that was done. In reviewing that position, while I've been in office, I have been short one full-time position in comparison to what the county board passed in the budget. When I asked to review documents around this decision that was made in a committee with the two candidates who lost in the election against me, and two other leaders in the county who do not live in the county nor pay tax dollars in the county, I was told that there are no documents to review, that this was just a conversation. I'm currently working with Kim Meinhardt in my office, the property lister, 0.25 deputy treasurer. And, Kim and I have a great working relationship. And I think we have passed some of the issues that we are currently seeing with, some people that are upset that I was elected into the role. And I would ask that this committee and the county board, if need be, evaluate that her and I are able to move forward for the better of this county and work together. But I have spoke to Kim about this decision, and, you can phrase things in a specific way that will get you the answer that you like. So if you ask two people who have been in their role for years, 6 to 4 years each, if they're comfortable with the processes in the treasurer's office amongst themselves in just two people, the answer might be yes, we're very comfortable working together. But today that's changed, the demographics. We have allowed the deputy treasurer that was in role to leave the department. We just have a property lister who can do 0.25 of her day in deputy treasurer responsibilities. That would be equal to answering the phone or catching the counter if I'm on the phone. We are not following our fiscal policy because we do not have a full-time deputy treasurer to do those procedures. The cash handling procedures and the cash receipting procedures in the treasurer's office takes 4 to 6 hours a day. There's another 45 minutes or so of balancing and documentation work. And then also we have staff members from other departments visiting our department with deposits that we have to verify. That position is definitely a full-time position. And I am currently doing all of those responsibilities and trying to juggle the responsibilities that I have as a treasurer. I took the time to review the staffing in other counties, and I've included in this information today that Wisconsin, as you know, has 72 counties. Only 25 of those counties handle real property listing within the treasurer's office. And of those, Adams County ranks 4th with the number of tax bills that we handle. Only 8 of the 72 counties operate with 2 or fewer staff in the treasurer's office. And I would gather that if we were to reach out to those 8, they would tell you they're understaffed, based on my 30 days of evaluation of the office. We are the only office within those that have real property listing, and also the drainage districts that have 2 staff. Everyone else has more. We are currently handling a workload at 38% more than the average in the county. Respectfully, I would ask that you also review the year-over-year staffing in the treasurer's office. Unfortunately, I ran out of time, but I would have liked to compare this to the additional staffing in the finance department, because it is my belief that as we have reduced positions in the treasurer's office, the elected office by the people, we have increased staff in the finance department, which, we're not returning anything to the county. But the real property lister was separate until 2019. It was in its own position. It was added into the treasurer's office and a position was reduced. So it's kind of like absorbed. They took that part-time position and made it a full-time position. And since then, there has been 3 people. In speaking with our previous county treasurer, who was in role for 30 plus years, she stated that when this happened, she told the leadership that that was the minimum. That was the minimum that this office could run and hit the statutory duties. And I'm here to tell you that I agree. I'm not a newbie. I have been a town treasurer for many years. I worked in finance for Kalahari Resorts. I managed Walmart stores. I was a district manager, a regional manager for companies, and I have done lots of job studies. This position needs 3 currently. Now, there are some things that we can do in the future to potentially reduce that. A lot of the paper record retention things that we do may be able to be reduced, but that takes training and it takes involvement in other departments, because we need to understand how we impact other departments. I believe that really underlines all of the main reasons why I'm here today, requesting that you reevaluate your decision, because you can do that today. You can decide to go back on what the decision you made in the last meeting and reinstate this position. Lastly, Amy Skemp. Amy Skemp sits behind me. She is a qualified candidate for this role. I have seen the rumors that I'm trying to hire my friend. I met Amy Skemp this summer when I was out actively recruiting to find a deputy treasurer. I was aware that at least one of the people in the office had intended to leave. It's not easy to keep a secret in Adams County. And so Amy was introduced to me by leadership in Newchester, because she and her husband had recently moved here and have been very active in the community and are very well respected. Amy has stuck with me through this situation. She is currently our deputy treasurer that has been filed with the county, and is willing to do and go over and above, regardless of whether or not the county decides to, pay her for that role. And I think that she deserves some respect as well. And I appreciate her for continuing to stick with this, because we want what is best for this county. So please, take this time to reconsider the decision that you have previously made.
Finance Director?
Mr. Chair, I think it's being inferred that I was a part of the group that recommended to reduce the staffing in the treasurer's office. I'm asking, yep. Oh, sorry. Mr. Chair, I think it's being inferred that I was part of the group that was recommending the reduction in staffing in the treasurer's office. I'd like Carol to clarify who was on that group.
Okay.
Mr.
HR
Chair.
Director? Yes.
So yes, it's been stated in other meetings as well that, and I think there's a misconception of who was involved in those meetings. The meeting took place. We did interview Kim Meinhardt. The reason we interviewed her is because she's the active individual that's in that office right now. So we used her input. That's the individual that we questioned. And the group of individuals that questioned her was myself. There was another department head and two individuals that used to work in the treasurer's office. And of those two individuals, it was not the other candidate that ran for the treasurer's office. So the only individual that was interviewed that ran for the treasurer's office was Kim. And that's because Kim is the individual that was in that office. She could give us information of how the office is running. It makes sense to interview her. But the individuals on the interview panel were not any other candidates for the treasurer's office. The department head was not Cynthia or Kyle. It was another department head in an outside agency that works closely with the treasurer's office. And like I said, the other two individuals were individuals that used to work in the treasurer's office, so had working knowledge of the treasurer's office as well.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I would like to bring attention to the county administrator's report from when this decision was made, because it does list that Kyle, Dustin Grant, KP, and Kim Meinhardt were part of the committee to review staffing in the treasurer's office, and it is called out. I do have copies of that. I don't have it with me, but I'm happy to share that if for some reason those notes have been changed since that meeting.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
I
And let's not argue that point.
Yeah, I
But
don't-
let's just bring up, any other information, HR director.
I don't have any additional information than the information that I gave you previously. That meeting with Kim and talking with Kim regarding the staffing in the office, I do truly believe that it is a two-man office. I don't believe that there needs to be 3 individuals in that office. And there was a request from Kara to fill a vacant position. And her request only states that she's looking for a part-time individual. That was the personal requisition form that was forwarded to myself. And I think also, I'd have to look back at the email. I think it was also forwarded to Cynthia Haggard and Nancy, our corporation counsel as well. So I don't know why at that point it was just a part-time, but now it's gone back up to a full-time. So I don't really understand where the confusion there is, if they don't really understand what it is that they actually need. But in reference to the real property lister position and that being shared with treasurer duties, when we asked Kim, how much of her job is real property listing duties, she estimated probably about 75%. Does that mean that during the day, 75% of the day she's doing real property listings and only 25% doing treasurers? I would say that no, that's not the case. If there's somebody up at the front window and she's working on real property listing, duties, she's going to stop doing what she's doing and take care of the person at the front window. It's not like she's just saying, no, I can't do those duties. So as a whole, she's saying that 75% of her duties are real property, but she also helps us in the treasurers, potentially 25%, but it's not like per day. So if she's needed, she will help with treasurer duties. It's not like she's saying that she can't do them.
Yes, treasurer.
I agree. Kim has done a wonderful job of stepping up and moving past, the election to do what's right for the county and for the taxpayer. But she stated 75% of her hours are spent doing real property listing. 25% can be done to deputy treasurer. Does that shift day to day? Yes. But at the end of the day, it's 75% real property listing and 25% deputy treasurer. I am the only person sitting in this room that has spent even a whole day in the treasurer's office. So I do not understand how our HR manager can state what we need, because there's been no real study. There's been no education, and we can see, looking at the data, that all the other counties give this position and this staff because they believe the workload is there. And the difference, because asked, would be the picture that you see today that I did not have when I wrote that request. So this is my first time completing settlements with the county. I was a treasurer for the town. And when I worked as a town, I worked to make sure that all of the payments that were postmarked the 31st were entered at my level. And I returned only to the county anything that came after that, because I did not have the ability to pass up charging somebody their late fee. If you look at the picture that I've submitted, that just came this week. All of these payments have to be entered. And they have to be entered before I can finish the February settlements. There are just a few here, and Jerry, you can speak to this because you bring me from your town. That's a lot. And so I stayed late, and as I have many days since I've taken this role, and entered for 1 hour straight so that I could come here and tell you how long it would take me personally to enter these. And mind you, I enter these for the town. I'm pretty quick at it. So in 1 hour, I was able to enter 79 tax payments. I haven't counted there, but I would guess that there's at least 20 to 25 hours of work just in entering payments. Then all of those receipts have to be stuffed in an envelope and mailed to the taxpayer. And then we have the daily reporting that goes along with that. The deputy treasurer is the data entry person and the front person for the county. And then, you know, if you read, you know, my notes, we have a lot of past due tax bills. That all has to be worked on as well. You have the number as of the last report that I pulled. I've had very little time to go in and research each one to see what notes are there, but I need to do that. And I need to do that before we get to the point where we look at foreclosures and taking back deeds. That has to be done. And the public is still waiting to determine how we're going to handle the properties that are currently in foreclosure as well. I'm not sure what the delay is in deciding whether or not we're going to use an online service or a sheriff's sale. But to answer your question, when I put in that part-time position, that's the minimum. That is the absolute minimum that we can have to stay within policy. If we want the work done and the work done right, we need a full-time position. Thank you.
Committee members, questions, discussion? Supervisor Pease.
Well, doesn't seem like anybody wants to discuss, so I'll make a motion to approve this and go forward.
Motion to approve a full-time.
Yeah, well, resolution to approve the staffing allocation treasurer.
Well, the staffing allocation doesn't have any numbers in it. The numbers have, I left the numbers open so the committee could decide what that staffing allocation is.
So,
If we want to send the resolution to the full board.
well, the allocation right now, according to her, what I like what she said was she's willing to evaluate her department as it goes forward. And I remember when Lyanna got her position, she waited 6 months, did the evaluation, and realized that she didn't need 3. So that may happen, but as of right now, as I stated in December, she should have the same opportunity that Janie had when Janie was there. So if you need to put 3 in a full-time equivalent, I'm okay with that. So I will put approve 3 full-time equivalent.
Okay. That's a motion. Do we have a second on that motion? Okay. It looks like it's going to fail because no second. So Supervisor Paler.
This is some discussion that I wanted to bring up. A question for our HR director. Weren't there some duties that had been moved out of the treasurer's department
Mr. Chair?
within the last 6 months or so that would make it lesser workload in there?
Yes.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Yes, that is correct. There were multiple duties that were removed from the treasurer's office. When there was only 2 individuals in there, some of those duties were removed. and taken over into the finance office because they're fiscal duties that the finance office is now taking over.
And those are duties that are not required by state statute to be in the treasurer's office?
I would defer that to Kyle. I would say yes, that would be true.
Mr. Chair, that's correct.
Okay. Treasurer?
Can we clarify what roles were moved?
Finance Director?
Mr. Chair. Finance Department has been handling sales tax reporting. It's a monthly task that the treasurer's office was handling in the past. State fines and forfeitures, and vital records, and then there is a triangular cash reconciliation that was typically handled in the treasurer's office, and finance has been taking care of that as well.
Treasurer?
I would say that we are still doing the cash reconciliation. Kyle was just in my office going over a report that I needed to do for that this week. So based on my experience working in West Bend during unpaid training that I took upon myself to do, and the month that I've been in the office, I am not aware of anything that has been removed. I've asked Kim, she's not aware of anything that's been removed, and we are still tracking sales tax. So if things were removed, they weren't communicated. And I do like to point out, we do have Janie Zander here. So she's here also if the committee would like to ask questions.
Supervisor Grabarski?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There's some things in this resolution that I certainly would need a better understanding of. And, you know, what we talked about in the federal government and other government agencies, they start talking about efficiencies and so forth. And when that's happening, there's going to be certain things that are going to be questioned. It's done on the federal level and it's being done here, which is all understanding. But the things that are bothering me on this one, it says monies are budgeted for 3 full-time equivalent positions. And then it goes on to say it, whereas that the term staff, which would, I would assume, mean the full-time equivalents, does not include the county treasurer. So if I try and dissect that, it almost looks like you could have 4 in there, a total of 4. And to me, this is not clear. This resolution is not clear even before we get to the number of full-time and part-time equivalents.
Corp Counsel, you're on the phone. Nancy?
See her there.
Nancy, you got to unmute yourself if you want to speak. I guess I'd like you to answer the question that Supervisor Grabarski put forward. Available. And just so everybody's aware, I should announce at the beginning that both the county administrator and corp counsel are ill, are joining virtually, but he's still muted.
Okay, sorry about that. I was having difficulty taking it off of mute. So basically, the 3 full-time positions that are in the budget include the elected treasurer. And if you look at the paragraph above, the paragraph where you would fill in the number of staff, the paragraph above says that the treasurer is not included in that. So if a motion is made, the motion that was just made for 3 full-time equivalents, that would be in addition to the treasurer.
Okay.
So I just want to make that clear. And yeah, that's all I'll say for now.
Does that answer your question, Supervisor Grabarski?
It does. It doesn't exactly clarify in print what it means and what it doesn't mean. I'd like to make reference also to December 10th minutes where motion by Grabarski, seconded by Edwards with attrition that the office will become a two-person department. And maybe we should have been more specific there, that it would include the treasurer and one other person. But it does say a two-person department, and it's not by job description.
So I guess what does the committee want to do? I mean, we had one suggestion to go to 3, which really probably meant 2.
Really, so I'll make the motion that we put 2 in that full-time equivalent. And make that a motion.
Motion, do we have a second? No second. So. Supervisor Dozel?
I would just like to point out that Supervisor Grabarski is stuck on the fact that there's been efficiencies added that has made it okay to reduce the staffing. What I haven't heard yet is what those efficiencies are, or been provided any documentation or proof as to what the time study was that demonstrated that something has changed for the removal of those positions. We've heard about very vaguely about who was involved in said review, and not sure why that's so covert either, but have not been provided any documentation that any efficiencies have been added, and or what that time savings was to said vaguely stated efficiencies.
Supervisor Grabarski?
Mr. Chair. All right. When we made that decision back in December, that was based on a committee of employee people in Adams County. And I've always been one that supported our employees. And I had no reason to doubt that that was accurate or not. So at least for myself, I based my decision on that. And again, if we go back to board rules, this decision has been made.
Supervisor Edwards?
Mr. Chair, I seconded that motion back in December and I stand by it. Mainly because we were acting on the information provided by a group of former employee treasurer department employees, a department head, and a current treasurer's department employee, and the HR department. Excuse me. So I think based on that, I still have to stand by my decision.
Okay. Supervisor Dozel?
Mr. Chair, I'm curious as to why the former treasurer, who I believe left in good standing and was recognized for her years of service, was not consulted or has been asked for her feedback. She's sitting in the room today and nobody cares, or has sought her opinion based on 30 plus years of experience in actually doing the job. She has no vested interest in the answer one way or the other than still caring about taxpayers and making sure that things are done correctly. So I'm curious as to why nobody cares what the expert in the room has to say.
Well, I think they care, and they have gotten
But he's
an
asked the question,
email
sir.
from Janie. Yeah. I mean, I'll allow you to speak if you'd like. Please use the mic so people on the.
It's tough. There's no doubt about it, but we did our due diligence. I started the cycle of cutbacks. So if somebody is saying county clerk and then ROD did their thing and we got to do our thing. We started it. You have to go back a little bit more. And we did it twice. We don't go for wasteful. There's a lot to do. I'm not going to lie. There are some things that finance could balance that maybe we necessarily didn't have to do, but I am concerned. You have a checks and balances to combat fraud, measure, whatever. So county treasurer does something, the finance is supposed to checks and balance. Finance does something, county treasurer is supposed to check them. So there's still, that is all still there no matter what. It's still the responsibility for, say, the state reporting for the clerk of courts and the register of deeds. The county treasurer has to sign it up. They still have to check it out and balance it. So the stuff is still there. It's just how you balance it out. I have a concern because I've talked to the previous staff that supposedly in the discussion, and she gave what she does herself. There is 2 staff when I left, described as deputy treasurer with real property listing duties. So there were 2 staff to coordinate when one would do the real property listing, the other one does the other part. And that maintained coverage was maintained if they're out sick, the extra. And the reason we balanced them out is it's because we could do that. I took it upon myself to incorporate. You still have to do the real property listing duties. It was not prior to the combination, a part-time job incorporated. It was a full-time job. So we did our due diligence. It has to be done. There's statute mandates. So if Kim said her portion was 75%, because she was the main contact for that portion of the job description, that was just her own self, I'm going to assume. But unless you come and ask her directly and have her put it in, that doesn't mean the other staff person wasn't doing the same thing. They were doing the other portion. So if you say that it's only 75%, I'm thinking at this point, and this is just my opinion, that was only her portion of what she did, not the whole thing. So as I put in my letter, you have new staff. It is what it is. Elections or whatever. And it's the same thing when you have your new supervisors, they got to learn. And it's going to take time. Somebody that had 30 years experience, somebody coming in with 1, it's going to take time to learn it. And they have to be taught. Everybody has to be a part of it. It's not going to be an overnight sensation. And you can review it later. But do you really want to take the chance of doubling up on one person to do double the things again and then find out later it's not going to work? Why not review it later? I mean, you can do it. I know it's hard. You say you don't want later on that if you have to do cutbacks, you want to wait until somebody leaves. Yes, that makes it easier, but easier is not always the way to go. I feel you should have enough staff to do that real property listing. This is your budget money. You got the assessments. If they're not kept up, your outside sources, your people who are on the website who have to on the outside, which you're talking law offices and real estate people, they need to it has to be updated. If you don't keep it updated, it's coming on you. You got to provide that service. And it's not anybody's fault. Yeah, the government is the government and what they give you is a mandate. But I think you should have one person, and it doesn't have to be under the treasurer's office. You guys if you read my thing, you could see that. But you do have 2 jobs there. It's a deputy treasurer. There's a real property listing process. We happen to combine it together. Cross-training, which was really big and emphasized at that point. I say, I would like to still see it 2 staff person with the treasurer. How you put it in, whether you keep it under the real property listing under the treasurer or you want to move it, that's up to you guys. That's my thought.
Supervisor Paler.
Let me just toss this out for discussion, and I want to hear an opinion from HR and probably from Janie and from Kara. But how would it work if we were to approve a part-time position in there. For example, to work on real property, because we already know that that's only a part-time job. And then you'd have one full-time position in the treasurer's office plus the treasurer. And it's just throwing it out there for discussion.
Okay, Treasurer?
So I'll weigh in first. First of all, I don't think it's fair to put any impact on Kim and her job. She does a great job. I don't think we have a better person to fill the real property listing role. And I don't believe we've asked her what she wants and whether or not she wants to be in the treasurer's department. I can tell you that I did talk to Kim about the reduction and what her thoughts were. She agrees that there needs to be a deputy treasurer and a real property lister in that office. And I called the supervisors sitting in this room and invited them to come speak to Kim and get her feedback directly. We have to listen to the employees who are actually doing the job. And we need to make sure that we aren't letting other things get in the way. I'm willing to negotiate whatever it takes to take care of this taxpayer. And if you come back and tell me all I get is a 3/4 person for deputy treasurer right now, I'll take that over nothing, because right now we are not serving the public. But I'm telling you, it is a full-time position as a deputy treasurer. And if we do take someone as part-time, they need to be able to bump up to full-time hours to cover vacations or meetings. Today, Kim is out. So, our office is closed with a sign on the window. That doesn't need to happen if we look at this the right way. And real property listing, lastly, that's something that takes quite a bit of training. So financially, the amount of time it would take to train somebody to do that role right away, it doesn't make sense to me to move Kim from handling that to train somebody new. That's my feedback on the Amy was a clerk treasurer in a town, so she has the experience already working in that role that we can expand on.
Janie?
My question is, why does everybody keep saying it was a part-time position? Where is that coming from for a real property listing? It's not been a part-time position.
No, but it's only like 0.75 of the job, and then part was treasurer. It's not been a part, right?
That was her mandate, but
Right.
you got to understand the other person in the office also did real property listing when she was done with the treasurer portion and the deposits, which has gotten longer. And it's no offense to the finance department. It makes balancing easier, but we went from a tax deposit to tax deposit and a daily deposit to multiple deposits with all the new situations. So instead of separating black and white from color, now you got to do black, white, gray. It takes longer. So when they get done, so I don't understand where everybody keeps thinking it's a part-time. It's not an easy thing to do. I mean, you have to be able to sit, and you can't just do one day with it. One day we could have 5 transfers, but if you have 3 CSMs and you have to make all these new, I mean, there's a lot to it. Just like finance department with all their multiple accounts, it's the same way when it comes to that duty.
Supervisor Paylor?
I might be wrong about this, but I believe that was moved part-time back when Casey Bradley was here. That's why Sue Booth left, because her position was cut to part-time. The other question or the other statement I wanted to make is, I never said anything about taking Kim away from real property. I just thought maybe we could alleviate the problem if we put a part-timer in there doing whatever. That would be up to the treasurer to figure out what she was going to do with her part-time help.
Yes, Janie, and then.
Okay.
And I guess that's what Supervisor Paylor was asking is, could it work with a part-time person?
Depending on your part-time. When you were discussing that, Casey, there were concerns, and I was included in that. I had my own concerns at the real property. They were just going to deduct it to 30 hours. It wasn't part-time to 30 hours because they felt that maybe the person at the time was spending a lot of time not doing it. When we deducted the other staffing in the treasurer's office and combined the duties to create 2 full-time deputy real property listers, we found that, and it's no offense, she may not have, when we worked with the Real Property Listing Association, we found that there's some things that weren't getting done, which added to it. So that's how we found that out. So I'm not sure that you could do the part-time, depending on your description of part-time. You're talking 30 hours or 20 hours under not having. So you got a lot of questions there too.
Supervisor Dozal.
I just had one question. Wait, hang on one second. Wait, before you run away. Wait. So
What? Well, I called on him and I saw Marge too, so he had his hand up a little bit ago, so.
So just to clarify, Jenny, you said that you cross-trained your team when you were the treasurer. So in the description of like 0.75 for Kim doing real property, 2.5 doing treasurer duties or deputy treasurer duties, did KP at the time then do the other 25% of the listings? Was it like just because they were working over each other?
Yeah, it was a combination.
All right, thank you.
That was the whole concept, is to be able to continue. So the customer service was there, that if the one person that was always the one person doing was gone for a week for illness or vacation, no one had to wait. And that included myself. I trained myself. I did not know that duty. So there was actually 3 of us actually combining to do the 2, all the staffing and the daily stuff in according with my stuff. And we did a good job.
Supervisor Edwards.
Mr. Chair, we keep talking about the real property lister being Kim. What is her job title? Is she a deputy treasurer?
Go ahead, HR manager.
So her job title is deputy treasurer, and then she does have those duties of real property lister in the job description, but it's the same job description for when KP was in there, KP and Kim had the same job description. Those are just duties that are within the job description.
So I guess
Mr. Chair,
HR director or finance manager, and then we'll let the county administrator talk. So finance director, please, first.
Mr. Chair, because my department was pretty involved with assisting the treasurer's office department, I just kind of want to go over the timeline of what happened with that office. I believe August 31st was when Janny had retired, and it was then reduced down to Kim and KP. Mid-September, I think, is when KP left. October was when KP left. At that point, then the finance department ended up having a staff up there helping out, who was also still covering their finance department duties. So it was one of my staff up there, and Kim was up there as well, assisting the treasurer's office during that time. Because it was only an office of one, we didn't have a county treasurer at that time. The job was posted and interviewed for, someone filled the role, and then there were issues beyond our control that they're no longer in that role. So it was an office of 2 for, was that like 5, since August, end of August. It was essentially an office of 2 running fairly smoothly since August. Just wanted to point that out and give my 2 cents on that.
Okay, treasurer.
I would say that Kim did the best job that she could, being there by herself. But I would tell you that the people of Rome would disagree with their double tax bills that they received, the tax bills that we had to reprint for New Chester. All of the people who are complaining today that they don't have their lottery credits, the training that really needed to be done in more detail with this new system with our current treasurers. And then, the goal as the county treasurer is to pay attention to the needs of the towns. And we have a lot of treasurers who are looking to retire and get out of their role, which means somebody is going to have to help to make sure that we're able to, keep our town treasurers trained, especially when it comes to tax collection. And, we saw that need through this tax season. And I think if you were to reach out to the town treasurers, they would tell you that Kim and I were a good resource, but it takes time to help them. So, there's a lot of things we could have done differently and better. And I'm not here to blame anyone for, the tax bills, but I can tell you that it is the role of the county treasurer to review those and compare them to previous years to try to catch any mistakes that may have happened at the town level before they go to print. And, we didn't have a county treasurer enroll. And I will tell you that I would have stepped in role sooner had I been asked, but I wasn't. So we can go round and round about this, I guess. At the end of the day, the need is there. The only person sitting in this room, besides Janie Zander, now that I saw her over there, that has done this job for even a day is me. The people that were on that committee other than Kim, and if there was a committee, I don't know, because now, it seems like the names given were not really the people in the committee, have not spent a full day up in that office. And having the finance team work in the treasurer's department eliminates the triangle that we need for cash handling. They should be checking me, I should be checking them. And if you have us commingled, that does not happen. These are very, very key steps in GAP, and it puts the county at risk, and it puts my staff at risk because, it is my understanding we haven't changed our safe combination ever. So I need to do that now that I heard that finance people were up working in the safe. It is our responsibility to protect the taxpayer, the tax dollars, and the funds coming into this county. And simple GAP procedures, like separation of duties, that's the number one thing that we should be paying attention to. And it takes three full-time people, including the treasurer, in that office to make this happen. Based on my current review, and as things are coming out, like the tax bills that need to be reviewed in detail that are past due, we may need some additional help to get through that and stay within what our guidelines are, because we are not following what we have outlined ourselves when it comes to past due parcels and tax payments.
County Administrator, sorry, since you weren't here, I didn't see your hand up and forgot to come back to you, so.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Okay, so there's a lot of communication that was coming my way and it's not really being conveyed today. And there is some misinformation that's also being shared about Kim's thoughts or beliefs in needing more than what's already in the office now. My understanding is that Kim is adamant that it is a 2-person department. Keep in mind, the two of them, KP and Kim, handled that office from August. Kim handled it on her own for a time, which is why finance had to come up. And as far getting into the weeds about internal controls and all of that, that's just getting you off the mark. The mark is it's a 2-person department, which was validated by a panel that was created by HR. The meeting I had was a separate meeting. Those are meetings I disclose on my report. Again, throwing you off guard there. Let's stay on topic. The topic is it is validated. It is a 2-person department verified by an independent panel. And mind you, I was also told that when Janie left her retirement in August, she conveyed to the team, her team, KP and Kim, you're going to be just fine. And this is during their blackout period, which is a normal period where they wouldn't be allowed to take time off because they had to be in the office. Yet the message that was conveyed to them, which got back to me, was you guys are going to be just fine. And it was just fine. If we even consider a halftime position, in addition to what we have already proven to be a 2-person department, if you put a halftime or full-time or whatever, in addition to that, it's forever. We do not get rid of people who are in seats. That is not our methodology. Our methodology is through attrition. We evaluate the need to fill a vacancy. If you put a person in that seat, it's forever.
Okay, yes.
Mr. Chair, my name is Stephanie Brem. I work in the finance department, and I am also the clerk of the town of Newchester. And those bills, our tax bills, had to be reprinted due to an issue with our SOA. And there was a glitch with the DOA. So it was an error on my part, not on the treasurer's office part. Also, during that time, I did spend some time, obviously not on county time, in the treasurer's office with Kim during the issue with Rome. And Kim can only print tax bills with the information that she is given. She was not given all of the information that she needed. That is why she had to reprint those tax bills. It had nothing to do with the treasurer's office. So I feel to place blame on not having the staffing and having issues with two townships' tax bills is very false and incorrect.
I want to move this forward. I guess the committee has to decide what we want to do, what the staffing level is that we recommend. We had an offer of 2 full-time, but it didn't seem to want to move. We had comments from 2 people that we want to keep it at the 2. So I guess I'd like to move something forward that will, Supervisor Edwards.
I guess I'm questioning why we even have this here as a resolution. This is the first time I can remember of having a resolution come to change staffing.
Because we're at an impasse. I mean, we have a
Our
department head
committee
that's
had a majority vote on this already.
right. But the department head, in all the other circumstances where we've had this in the past, is that, we were able to have conversations in this committee and come to agreement with the department head, with the elected official. We're not having that right now. I mean, so that's where, talking about corp counsel, we found it best to bring a resolution forward and take it to the full board for the full board's decision. Otherwise, we've been able to come to a consensus between us, an elected official, or department heads on the staffing levels. So that's why I wanted to bring a resolution forward and take it to the full county board for discussion there and determination by the full county board. And that's what corp counsel and outside legal counsel had recommended that would be probably best to do. So that's why the resolution's here. Does that answer your question?
You're asking us to set a precedence. So going forward,
No, going forward, if we can't come to a consensus,
then you're making it a political issue rather than, or someone is making it a political issue. Rather than just based on the facts of what is needed in a department.
So, Treasurer?
I keep hearing conversation about facts. The facts outlined. There's no facts. There is no formal review. There was a conversation between employees who did not work in the department and one person who does work in the department. We didn't speak to the past county treasurer. She's sitting here telling you the evaluation done in that committee was not correct. I've given you evidence in front of your very eyes in what this has done so far to our treasurer's office. I've invited you to talk to my staff. You haven't done that. I've invited you to come spend a day with me. You haven't done that. It is the responsibility of the county board to take care of this county and do what's right, guys, like with respect. This is not political. And I think if you look at Kim and I working together in the office today, you will see that. Nobody's playing politics here. But if I cannot get the county board to listen to the needs of the department, then I have only a couple other options. And that is to speak to the public because they vote you into your position and to go in a legal route. And I don't think our taxpayers who can't pay their tax bills today deserve us to waste their money like that. We can work together and allow me to run this office as I need, and trust me that I will do what I have done in every other position in business I've held to make this role more streamlined, to eliminate waste, and to work to cross-train with other departments where we can and stay within our statutory guidelines. Now, I know none of you have ever worked with me, and I'm sure you've heard all kinds of bad stuff about me, but if you go read my references from the employers I've worked with, they will tell you I am trustful, I work hard, I go over and above, I care about the people that work for me, I care about the community. This other stuff you've heard is all false, and it's been proven false. So let's do what's right today for the treasurer's office and for the county, and staff it as necessary, please.
Supervisor Pease.
I will take exception that I was never invited to come to your office by email or by phone or anything. So I never got that invitation.
Yeah.
So, but again, I believe that this committee should approve, well, not anymore because I already made the motion, that we should start her the same as we left Janie. And with that, I do have to leave at this point. So if we're going to make something, a motion, I'd love to hear it before I leave and vote on it.
HR manager, please keep it short because I want to move this along because
Just one little
he needs to leave.
comment. I was looking through my notes from the meeting that we had, and some of my notes, it does, and this was something that Kim had said, is that, the office was working smoothly with 2 employees. They're both cross-trained to perform all tasks. And that they had a lot of downtime with 3 full-time employees in the office. And she stated they even had downtime during their busy months with 3 people. So to have 3 individuals in that office, to pay somebody to have downtime, it makes no sense.
As I mentioned, I'd like to move something forward, even if it's only the one additional person that you had passed before, that you wanted before, is only 1 full-time employee, which would make it 2 with the treasurer. I'd like to take that, if you can, I'd like to take that forward. At least we have something going forward, so we can discuss it on the board floor. Supervisor Paylor.
Okay, if you want to move something forward, I would move that we have the full-time treasurer, 1 full-time position, and 1 half-time position.
Okay.
I would make that a form of a motion and
Okay.
take it to the full county board.
Okay. That's a motion. Do I have a second? Second by Supervisor Rick Pease. So discussion. Supervisor
Mr. Chair,
Edwards.
by 1 full-time and 1 part-time, is that including the elected treasurer?
No, it's not including. So there'd be 2.5 people
Okay,
for clarification. That's a motion on the floor. Well, it'd be a full-time and a part-time person.
Well, that's 1.5.
Right, plus the treasurer would be 2.5. Right. But it'd be, in the resolution, it'd be 1.5. Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed signify by saying nay. Nay, Supervisor Kuparski. Okay, that resolution will move forward. So if you want to stop in and sign that later, we'll have it.
Okay, I'll stop this afternoon.
What? Oh, you're just gonna write it in? Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, next we'll move on to the report of taxes and licenses due to the state. We have that report attached. Probably need a motion to approve that report. Supervisor Edwards. Second by Supervisor Paylor. Discussion or questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed signify by saying nay. Okay, that report is approved and that'll move on to County Board 2. Dog licensing report. Oh, it's all one? Okay. Oh, that was including the dog license report. Okay. Next, then we'll move on to approval of position placements and or additions, but 2025 wage scale, HR manager.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Okay, so I had 5 different positions that went before Risk Strategies to be reevaluated. And the reason for that is, three of the positions, especially for the positions over at the sheriff's office, the front office staff, we had found out that the job descriptions don't accurately reflect their job duties. So we had a meeting with the front office staff and their job descriptions were rewritten and they were sent to Risk Strategies for evaluation. What they had decided is that the administrative records officer, there's 2 individuals that are in that position. There will be no change for that category, so they're recommending no change there. There was a administrative services specialist who is the individual that pretty much takes care of the record keeping software within the sheriff's office. There were duties that needed to be added onto her job description that were not on there. They evaluated those, and that position originally came back in the pay grade 16. They're recommending that that be bumped up to pay grade 15, so they recommend that it goes up 1 grade. And the administrative, I forget her title right offhand. She was the administrative support clerk. Her job description was very inaccurate, to be honest. It made it look like a secretary position, and she's the individual that does pretty much the civil processing, the sheriff's sales, and those duties were in the administrative records officer job description, and they did not perform those tasks, so we had to move those over. And there were other duties that she was doing that she is doing the transcription as well. And then the administrative records officers are back up to that, so we needed to add that to her job description. Those, the original classification came in on pay grade 18 originally. With a change in the job description, they're recommending that that position go to pay grade 17. So that would increase 1 classification as well with the approval from the committee.
Any questions from the committee?
I have 2 more as well when you're done with that one.
I guess my only question is, how many more of these are we going to be looking forward to that you've got pending?
I don't have any, this is the last of the groups that we had to do, where we looked at their job descriptions because there were duties that weren't on there that needed to be on there. So I'm hoping that we've caught them now, because this was brought to our attention after the fact, after the results came back. So we had to make that information correct. So I'm hoping that this is going to be it for a while. Now, if we have reclassifications, those are going to be coming before you, and those could happen at any time, which the other 2 positions that we're going to talk about are.
So you want us to vote on those 2 that you put forward so far? Before we go on to the next one?
It's up to you. I have 5 total.
Okay.
So it's up to you, whatever works best for you.
Okay, we'll do them all together. So
Okay.
go ahead and go into the other ones.
So the other,
And if we want to break one out separately, we can.
okay.
Okay.
Another position was the lead fiscal specialist in the finance office. When Macy resigned from the county, her job description was reevaluated, and those HR duties that were in her job description are now being put into the lead fiscal specialist position. So that position is now going to be reclassified to a human resource specialist. The lead fiscal specialist was already doing part-time payroll, which they were going to be my backup for the payroll function at the county. So it makes sense to have that position now be the part-time HR, part-time payroll. So we did update that job description, and that was evaluated. The lead fiscal specialist was in the pay grade 14. And they are recommending that with this new title and new job description, that that position would still stay in pay grade 14. So there's no increase there. The other position was the fiscal accounting clerk in the finance department. With some restructuring with other departments, they have taken on additional tasks in the finance department. So we're looking to, originally the job description was made into an accountant, and they added duties to that position as well. The recommendation from Risk Strategies is currently the positions are on pay grade 16. They're making the recommendation with the new duties that have been assigned and the new responsibilities that those positions should raise to pay grade 14. So they recommend that those go up 2 pay grades. And they are recommending that we change the title to accountant, change it, from accountant to something else, because accountant really doesn't fit the job description, because they're not fully doing 100% all the tasks that an accountant would do. But they did say whatever we change that title to is not going to change, what we, the pay grade that they've recommended, because the bulk of the job description is, it's not the title that's driving the pay or the grade increase. So I just got this information this morning. So I talked to Kyle about that and let him know that they're recommending that we change the title, but they would not change their recommendation, whatever the title would be.
Okay. Any questions? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve those changes? Supervisor Edwards,
I'll make the motion to approve the changes as recommended by risk management and HR.
okay.
Second.
Second, any further discussion on those items? Okay, seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed signify by saying nay. Okay, those positions, and you'll give Lyanna that list so she can
I can sure.
get those in the minutes.
Do you want those changes to be effective January 1 then? That would be the recommendation, is to go back to January 1, or do you want it to be a separate date?
When do you want it effective now, after today, or back to January 1st? I think effective now. That'd be my recommendation, would be right now, since it's, yes,
Do I have it be effective today?
today.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we'll move on. Project status report was included. Any questions on that? Any highlights you'd want to bring out? Otherwise, there's no questions from the committee. IT report.
Morning, everybody. There any questions in this month's report?
What? We don't have one. We don't. There isn't one. There's not one today. So
Maybe if she had the staffing, she could do it.
IT report. Any questions for Rich? Okay. Thanks, Rich. Human Resources has her report there.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Okay, so this month's report, we're starting over for the new year. So the information on this report is just, we're starting over in January, and it will be we'll build upon that each month, so there'll be more information going forward. There really isn't anything out of the ordinary to report. I did want to point out two retirements. One in January, Karen Bays, and one in February, Todd Loddart, who were longtime employees of Adams County. So I just wanted to point those out. Those resolutions will be coming before County Board if they haven't already.
And we approved Karen's already.
Yeah. So I'm assuming Todd's will probably come this next month in February. So I just wanted to point out that, but otherwise there isn't really anything out of the ordinary to report.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, seeing none. County Clerk's report.
Any questions? There is a February primary. February 18th.
Wow, it's coming up quick.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Corp Council's report. And Nancy's on the phone. Anything you want to add, Nancy?
Nothing to add. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to address them.
Okay, seeing none. Finance Director?
Mr. Chair, I have the
Yes.
monthly report, quarterly report, and ARPA work group report. Were there any questions on the monthly report? Otherwise, I'll go into the quarterly report.
Okay, go ahead.
So if you scroll down to the next page, first few pages are listing the revenues. So if there's any revenues that are under 100%, since we are entirely through 2024, you're going to see comments on there. We don't quite have all the journal entries in for year end yet. We're still working on those. Typically, we end up having those done by end of March, early April, somewhere around that time frame. So the total general fund revenues are listed there. It's about 95%. However, there are grant revenues that do need to be recorded into the prior year. So we anticipate that we should see all the revenues that we had anticipated. And onto the next few pages are the expenses. So any expenses that are over 100%, you're going to see comments listed on the right side there. And then all the way at the bottom, Lana, you'll see the total expenses are roughly 89% of the budgeted amounts. So if there's any questions on the quarterly report, I can take those.
Okay. And we'll we can let Supervisor Pease knows if he has anything, he should give you a call. In the ARPA work group. Any changes there?
Mr. Chair, there were a few payments for the Parks Wi-Fi project. That was about all that I can recall for the month of December and January.
Okay. Any questions then for the Finance Director? Too late. So, okay, next we'll move on to the County Manager. I got better hearing than he does. Finance Director didn't hear that one. Oh, we should have put in for a pickleball court. So, County Manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Update on the capital projects. We have phase 2 building project. It's split out into 3 different phases here. The last phase to be completed in the first quarter of 26. So the parking lot, though, that's hoping to be completed in 2025. The fairground stage project, we're hoping to have that project completed before the fair in 2025. And there's a schematic there of that's obviously not the final design. It's just the initial plan there. And then update on the highway department projects. The City of Adams splash pad is moving forward now. They're getting ready to send out bids for engineering services. And then under happenings, I touch on the airport tree obstruction. Obviously, it's just a flight pattern issue out there and some options that we have out there, maybe even an opportunity to make some money through that process. The butterfly garden, another opportunity to save money and also perhaps do a community effort. And then in addition to that, a money generator. And then I touch on office moves that happened, just so everyone's aware where everybody's placed. Cottonville Dam, there's some issues with some repairs going on out there, and I kind of inform you about what's going on there. So that's still in the works. And other than that, that completes my report.
With the Cottonville Dam, and I guess we could ask Colton this, you don't know, there's not going to be a drawdown required on that, is there? Or you don't? Kind of, do you know? If that's been brought up or no?
Mr. Chair, I don't believe it's been brought up in discussions, but typically when they do repairs on dams, there is a drawdown, but
Yeah,
I don't know.
I guess we
for
can ask
certain.
Colton, we can ask Colton that.
Yeah, I
See.
think it's too early on to tell
Okay.
right now.
Any other questions? Okay, the expense report's there, but there was nothing on the expense report, so next meeting date.
March 7th.
March 7th? Yep. Is it fine for everybody? If not, let me know if we get somewhere where we got a conflict. Okay, that's fine. 9 o'clock? Okay. Otherwise, nothing else. I'll declare the meeting adjourned. Thank you all.